Welcome to the UTI Swatantra series powered by ET Now. Thank you so much for joining us. As we continue to help you understand your finances and invest your money better, this week we're looking at alternatives to saving your money. Now, we know that you like to save and you like to keep your money in your savings bank account, but is that really the most efficient way for you to grow your money? We're going to find out over the next half hour. Remember, you can always send in a question that you have to the website that's at the bottom of your screen, or you can tweet out your question to #Swatantra. All right, joining me in the studio this week, PR Dilip is the founder and promoter of Impetus Wealth Management. And Dakshesh Kothar is the MD and CEO of Ashutosh Financial Services. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. Dilip, I'll start with you. I know there are a lot of viewers watching and some in the studio as well, especially women, who like to see a certain amount of money sort of pile up in their bank accounts. There's a portion of the salary that doesn't get touched. It tends to pile up in the bank account. Now, whether I get 4% or in some cases 6%, as the case might be, it's still not the most efficient way to save money, is it?
Absolutely right. There is a major reason, cultural or traditional reason behind that. We Indians are basically good savers, but the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we good investors too? If you look at the domestic saving rate, we save around 30% of the GDP, which is one of the highest in the world. Of course, last year it had gone sub 30%. But we are big savers, and 65% of that saving actually gets into fixed assets. We have a fixation towards fixed assets and investments which gives you a fixed return.
And real estate and gold.
Absolutely. So when you talk about fixed assets, it's real estate and gold. Yes. And then investment instruments which gives you a fixed return. So we have a fixation towards that. That's why 65% of your savings gets into fixed assets. And dynamic assets, growth-oriented assets like equity gives hardly 3 to 4% per annum. And if you look at the households and even the urban cities in the country, only 9% of the urban households actually invest in mutual funds or equity-oriented instruments. The reason could be the savers. Are they not confident enough in handing over their savings to a financial intermediary? A financial intermediary could be a bank, it could be a financial institution, it could be a mutual fund, it could be a financial advisor or a portfolio manager.
But why do you think that is? I mean, if it's a reaction to something, if generally as customers we are nervous when someone tells us to invest our money, correct, there's obviously a learning that's come from there. Why do you think that is?
One could be lack of awareness. Second could be what they see is the volatility in the market. Okay. And these are the two reasons. If you can create more awareness among the investors or savers that though there are volatile times, over a period of long horizon, this gives a much better growth. For example, if you buy a real estate, you are not looking at the price on a day-to-day basis. If you buy gold, you are not looking at the price of gold on a day-to-day basis. You actually hold on to those assets for a much longer period of time and then say that I invested X, now it is 2X. But that 2X, you say that only after 10 or 15 or 20 years. When it comes to financial instruments, every day, for that moment today, every second you can actually see the price. So along with the price movement, your heartbeat also goes up and down, right? So you need to actually decide that if you are willing to spend time with a fixed asset for 10 years, 15 years, then you need to give reasonable time frame for a financial instrument as well. There is no point in looking at the NAV every day and getting worried about it.
Right.
So lack of awareness that this asset need to be held on for a longer period of time is what is actually the need of the hour.
You know, if we talk specifically to the investors who leave their money in their bank accounts, right, obviously risk is a huge problem. The other problem is just getting started. I mean, one of it might just be I'm procrastinating. I don't know how to get started. I don't know who to call. I don't know what to choose. There are too many choices in the market. It's just easier to leave my money where I can see it, because there's a lot of work. If you consider the KYC, consider the choices that I have to make, there's a lot of work in moving that money out of my bank account. And then I have to worry about how I'll get it back if I need it at some point. What advice would you give someone who's watching right now, whose entire salary is still sitting in their bank account?
Unfortunately, we have been a country all these years where people would not like to risk their money, as that is the psyche with the people around, into equities. So what we try to suggest people is that let us do something that the money will be into some efficient instrument, maybe a debt kind of an instrument. Say I have my money in the savings account. Now savings account would generate me a return which starts from 4% by and large to a return at the maximum would be around 6% in some of the banks. So somewhere if I can generate a return which is better than that, that's one. Secondly, it is a tax efficient route of generating that return. It makes a lot of sense. Then the moment I am done with that kind of a thing, then I develop a certain amount of confidence in the system that okay, that KYC is not something which is very difficult. Then I can generate return on say maybe something like a mutual fund, which is a debt based mutual fund, and then I would slide into equities.
Okay, see, but that's the thing. A lot of a lot of experts have come on this show and said debt-based mutual funds are exactly like fixed deposits, but that's not entirely true. There is an element of risk that comes with a debt-based mutual fund as well, which doesn't come with my bank account or doesn't come with a fixed deposit. Explain to us what that risk is.
Basically, one needs to look into that NAV, the net asset value. The moment somebody invests into a mutual fund, there would be a statement written that it is subject to market moments and all those things. When somebody reads all those things, he gets a little disturbed. But one needs to look into that what is the underlying asset that I am investing into. If the underlying asset which I am investing into are AAA rated bonds, are government securities, then despite it being a net asset value based kind of a thing, I should not worry about it, because up or down, at the end of the tenure which I am looking at, maybe a period of 2 years, 3 years or whatever, I would be getting a return which is the return on those underlying assets. So the construction of the mutual fund as an investment avenue is such that it gives a shaky kind of effect. But if somebody probes a little into it and goes that what are the underlying asset, it should matter to somebody. And to add to that, somebody should look at the history, that say what is a 3-year return, what is a 5-year return, what is a 1-year return. Then that would bring confidence that I might not lose money.
So are you convinced? All right, let's take some questions. Is there anybody in the audience who has a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, can you tell us the different kinds of mutual funds like debt, equity, balance, and their taxability regarding dividend distribution tax and capital gain?
Yeah, you have equity funds, and within equity funds you have again different types of equity funds. You could choose large cap funds, you could choose mid cap or small cap or a combination of these, and then you have debt funds, and within debt funds you have liquid funds, you have short term debt funds, long term debt funds, and then you have gilt funds, and then you have hybrid funds. Now the taxation, the major change in the taxation the 2014 budget brought in was on the dividend distribution tax on debt funds and also the tenure. Earlier the long-term capital gain was calculated after 1 year. It was applicable after 1 year of a debt fund. Now it has been extended to 3 years. So you get that advantage of long-term capital gain taxation only if you hold a debt funds more than 3 years. And earlier the dividend distribution tax was actually around 22%, which is now gone up to 28%. So these are the actual impacts on the debt funds with regard to tax. As far as equity is concerned, there is absolutely no change, and if you hold on to an equity fund for more than 12 months, then obviously it qualifies for long-term capital gain, and there is no tax on that. Yeah.
All right, we have to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about using mutual funds instead of just leaving money in your savings bank account. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the UTI Swatantra series powered by ET Now. Thank you for staying with us. We're continuing our conversation about the efficiency of using mutual funds instead of just leaving your money lying idle in your bank account. I believe we had some more questions before we went into break. Yes, go ahead. The gentleman at the back.
You said about efficiency as well as you said about a good investor. And you also talked about awareness. But regarding like a savings account, all right, there's a fixed amount which is there, the person invests and he'll get that amount. So how would you clear, mutual funds would clear the insecurity level in a particular individual when he goes to invest and he knows that he might get more than expected. So how can you eradicate this insecurity?
So in that case, what we should do as a investor who is taking the first step, he must actually invest the money through a team of professionals who are recognized. For example, mutual fund. Mutual fund is a recognized body. There are 44 mutual funds in this country who are managing around 876 mutual fund schemes under them. Extremely well regulated. We have a capital market which is extremely well regulated. Even the developed markets actually praise Indian capital market system because of the transparency which is brought in and the efficiency which is brought in. So you have mechanism, you have channels where a team of professionals are actually looking at the risk reward ratio and trying to mitigate that risk and try to give you a positive return. So as a first step towards investments in dynamic assets or growth assets, you, instead of going directly to equity, you should actually seek the help of these professional fund houses and invest and experience, feel the water, experience the risk reward and advantage or disadvantage, and then take the next step forward.
The young man over there, go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I want to start with my long-term investments and direct investment into equities. So can you just suggest me which are the best sectors in the market wherein I can invest in? Because there are many sectors. I am confused exactly which sector should I choose for my long-term investment. Also, sir.
Is there a reason why you're looking at direct equity and not a mutual fund?
Oh yeah, sir, because I feel that I can earn much better, because I have never seen any person in my life who had told me that I had invested lakhs of rupees into mutual fund and I have become a crorepati. But I have seen many people in my life who have told me that I have done direct investment into equities, but in lakhs, and they have become crorepati out of the direct investment into equities. So that's why I want to.
A mutual fund investor shy?
Yeah. But that stigma is getting changed over a period of time, and even in smaller places, not just in bigger places like Mumbai or Delhi, in smaller places even people invest into crores of rupees into mutual funds. Today mutual fund industry is a 13 lakh crore rupee industry. It is not a 2,000, 5,000 rupee SIP kind of an industry. Today 3 to 4 lakhs crores of money is into equity based mutual funds. So today mutual funds, and especially in last 2 years, 1.5 years to be precise, after the new government, the flow through the mutual fund route is very substantial into the equity markets. And one of the reasons the market is getting support is because of there is a continuous flow of money from the mutual funds on account of investor getting more and more confident about going through this vehicle of investment into equity market. And as far as direct equities is concerned, it requires a lot of focus into what all stocks you have bought, how they are performing.
Do you have a success story that you can share with him about someone who is very successful using mutual funds?
Maybe I can share a story of my investor who would have made his portfolio today is worth more than 25 crores of rupees in a place like Rajkot, from where I am coming from. And he would have made at least in last 14 months not less than anything between 4 crores of rupees by way of appreciation.
Only through mutual funds?
Only through mutual funds, and a die-hard investor into mutual fund. So that is the kind of money people and the confidence that people are putting into the mutual fund industry.
And so, what should be the minimum time horizon that I should park my money? Because I am young, I am not still married, so I want money as early as possible. So I feel that I should not block my money. If I am investing if I am doing direct investment into equities, I can take out any kind of money, means from whichever stocks I have, I can liquidate that money. But in mutual fund, if I want to invest, So I feel I should park. I have heard like that I should park at least 3-4 years minimum. I should block my money. Then only I will be able to earn something.
Equities per se is an asset class where one should be investing for a period of more than 3 years time, somewhere between 3 and 5 years. That would hold true for direct equities or going through the vehicle of mutual funds. The reason why it's said that there could be cycles in the markets, there could be some reasons beyond our control for which the equity markets do not perform the way.
Yeah, actually, I think the symptom here is of a completely different problem. If you're a young man and you have your whole life ahead of you, I'm worried about you putting money in any investment without a goal in mind. So you don't know what that money is for, which is why you want to keep it liquid all the time. But if you were to divide it based on, this is liquid cash that I need, whenever I need it, I'm going to use it. This is money I'm going to put aside for the next 10 years. This is money for the next 30 years for my retirement. The temptation to keep it liquid and accessible will then automatically be taken away. So is there a particular goal that you have in mind when you're making these investments?
So more than investments, I feel I have my own business, I have my own company. So instead of investing into somebody else's company, I should invest in my own company. Okay. But if I have some spare money with me. So instead of keeping in bank, I can keep in maybe in liquid fund or in equities I can park. But whenever I require for my own company, first of all, I will give priority for my company. That's why I'm planning for
so
this.
So that's definitely not direct equity.
Yeah. So as a businessman, what you're looking at is, one is diversification of risk. You want to diversify the risk. Yeah. You are already taking some risk in your business.
Yeah, right.
And you are creating some surplus which you don't want to redeploy there, you want to deploy elsewhere. So that the risk is diversified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Along with that, you also require liquidity. Yeah. You want money back at any point of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where your objective is, first is liquidity, second is capital protection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for that, liquid funds are the best suited option.
Okay.
HNIs and any business corporations, if you see, the funds which are available for short term, which they may want to recall at any point of time, and they don't want to keep in the current account, in that case liquid funds are the best option for you. If you have anything more than 3 years, funds which you can deploy for more than 3 years, then direct equity or equity oriented mutual funds would be best option, because your age supports you, you have a long horizon to go.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, do we have any more questions? Okay, all right.
In comparison to the investments, mutual funds compared to real estate, all right, both of the investments have got assured money, right?
Neither of those investments have assured money, actually.
Like if you invest in a property, Mumbai has advanced to such a stage where in real estate, if you invest after a particular period of time, you get excellent appreciation, which is justified.
It's not really true. If you consider the Mumbai market over the last 3 years, it's been flat, which means net of inflation, people have lost money.
It might not be totally stagnant, but appreciation has to be there, because it's my personal experience. Mumbai has advanced by heaps and bounds compared, from the properties point of view.
I would want you to just look at one particular formula. Look at the rent yield. Okay, if you are deploying, say, X amount, suppose you are buying property worth of 1 crore. Okay, assume that is for investment. That's not for your consumption, self-occupation. You are talking about investment. That means you are buying the second property. In that case, suppose assume that you are buying a property with worth of 1 crore. Whichever part of Mumbai or any part of India, you need to see what is the rent which you can get out of that. Okay, in Mumbai, if you buy a property worth of 1 crore, you will not get anything more than 3 lakh per annum. That means 1 crore capital and 3 lakh income. That means it's 3% is the yield. On that, you will be paying a tax as well. So the rent yield is absolutely somewhere near 2 to 3%. And when you compare the mortgage rate, which is around 10% odd, it is not a viable proposition at all.
I think, the other mistake that a lot of investors make when you compare equity and you compare real estate is that you don't consider the costs that come on the way. So for a mutual fund, for example, it's up 2.5% fund management fee. That's the most. It can never cross that. But when you're considering your real estate investment, you should also consider that you've paid stamp duty, registration, brokerage, maintenance, property tax, right? and then to fix every pipe and to repaint it and to redo it on a regular basis, plus the amount of effort and time and energy it takes to maintain the tenant.
Opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost. Every time you renew your lease, there's a fluctuation in the yield. All of those things need to be netted from your gain. And also the other thing to consider is liquidity. The fact that if you were to liquidate an asset, is in the city of Mumbai, it would take you 6 months. Whereas in an equity mutual fund, any mutual fund, you can do it in trade plus 2 days. If you have 1 crore rupees invested in a mutual fund and you need to only access 5 lakh rupees, you can take out 5 lakh rupees. But for real estate, you would have to liquidate the whole asset. So they're two completely different investments. I don't think it's necessarily an either or. It might be a both situation. All right, I'm told we need to take a very quick break. We're going to come back from the break and continue our conversation about using mutual funds as investments. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the UTI Swatantra series powered by ET. Now, thank you for staying with us. We're talking about leaving your money in a bank account and why that's not the most efficient way to save and how there are other options for you in the market. I do believe we have another question. Go ahead.
I'm a businessman. I want to invest money in 3 sectors, different sectors: metal sector, that is gold, mutual funds, and debt equity. What will be the ratio which I should invest?
What is your goal for this money? Do you have a plan for this money? How many years are you going to invest it for?
Yeah,
is there a particular
5 to
reason?
10 years.
5 to 10 years. Okay. 5 to 10 years. Dilip?
No, instead of just giving a over-the-counter prescription, you need to evaluate what is your present cash flow, what are your expenses, okay, and the existing investments, whether it is going to meet all your goals the way it is deployed. If it is not going to meet all your goals, then you need to see what kind of exposure you should have in what asset, growth asset, fixed interest asset, or some commodity, that you need to look at with a holistic picture and then decide what should be your asset allocation. You know, just generally deciding that I need some exposure in gold or debt or equity, that may not be a prudent decision, because none of these asset classes are static. There is extreme volatility in all the asset classes. So we need to have much deeper insight into your profile, your goals and your cash flow, and then decide what is the right asset allocation, and then prescribe you must have so much as in equity, so much in debt, and so much in commodity, etc.
I am looking for diversifying.
Yeah.
So
Since you are young, what is your age?
33.
33. Since you have age on your side, you could actually have a higher allocation towards equity. You could have higher allocation. And how much higher, that you need to discuss in detail with your financial planner.
Okay.
A lot of times, people possibly have money in their bank accounts because they have no plans for that money. How important is it to force yourself to make a plan? It's a tedious process. None of us like doing it. But how important is it to force ourselves to make a plan for the money?
Okay. One should straight away start looking at something like a liquid fund. You know, it is something which is very akin to a savings bank account. You get a return of 4% and something maybe 6% in a savings bank account, while as in case of a liquid fund where the net asset value doesn't go down. So at no point of time there would be that fear kind of a factor that would get generated on account of investment into mutual funds. One can straight away think of an option of a liquid fund the moment one has money in the savings bank account, without going into a lot of, going into a lot of details and trying to figure out what I should be doing. This is something which should be done. Then you develop a comfort over a period of time, and then you can go into different another areas, and maybe at times what we have been advising some people, that at least the returns that you generate on the liquid fund, that you try to put it into the equity fund. So it gives a lot of cushioning that I am not putting my hard-earned money into risk. And that is the way we try to address the Indian thought process. If there is an interest which is put at risk, then people are not very averse to that kind of an idea. So I think that is the way that progression starts, and over a period of time, one can develop comfort and go ahead.
All right, unfortunately, we've run out of time on this show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with us. You've been a wonderful audience as well. If you're watching at home and you'd like to send us a question, log on to our website, www.bswatantra.com, or tweet out a question, #Swatantra. Thank you for watching.
Brought to you by UTI Mutual Fund. हक एक बेहतर जिंदगी का.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all the scheme-related documents carefully.